here. Give me a moment. Okay, we're getting there in a moment, folks. All right.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Vilma. How are you?
Better, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, let me. Something has happened to my settings here. Oh, okay, there we go. Clearer. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mystical Teachings from the Tanya. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kedoshim in Montreal, Canada, where it is a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Welcome. You're welcome, Rabbi Chaim and John, Irene, and Joshua, Mariasha, Johan. Thank you for joining. We have with us also Elaine from Georgia and Marty from Central Florida. David from Northern California. He says it's beautiful. I'm sure it is. I have a daughter there, Northern California. Shalom to Tony in Belmar, New Jersey, and Irina in Colorado. Stan is with us in London, England. Good afternoon. And Eugenia in Calgary. Leslie in North Carolina. Good morning. Adam is with us, Fort Myers in Florida. And Linda, Denise, so welcome. Gelise, I don't know if I pronounced that right. Okay, Pamela, welcome. And Karen from Springfield, Ohio. All right. All right, folks. We're concluding today the 38th chapter. This chapter we're speaking about kavanah, intent. Doing the act, a mechanical act of a mitzvah, gives us a bond, a oneness with God. Period. Which we've mentioned many times, and I keep on reiterating it because it's so counterintuitive that through just a menial, I don't know if we call it menial, that might not be the right word, but just through an action of doing something without intent, without kavanah, without mindfulness, you're bound up and one with God. The challenge with that, or the difficulty, or what's not sufficient, is that it is not an illuminated bond, being that there isn't in your thoughts and it's not in your headspace. So, as we explained yesterday, that is in reference in God's name, the four-letter tetragrammaton, name of God, the latter vav and a hey in God's name, that refers to doing something in a mechanical way, which means action, or merely just speech, saying, for example, a prayer and not being mindful. Yet you're embraced by the name of God in that very action. And again, not sufficient, because God desires. His desire is twofold: the action and the kavanah, the intent, the mindfulness that we have. So today let's go into the two levels of kavanah, of intent, which is based on the first two letters of God's name, Yud and a Hey. So there are two ways that we can have intent. The first way, we'll call it the human. The second way, we'll call it, or I'm going to call it, the Alter Rebbe calls it, the metaphorically, the animal way. Okay? But here, animal is not in a negative, call a person an animal. That's, pretty negative. That's not here. As we'll see, this, it's quite an achievement. However, that being said, of course, the human way is even a greater achievement. And what is that? The first level is a person discerns and sufficiently that they know God. And they can reflect on the greatness of God. They can reflect on the greatness of the act that they're engaged in, whether it's charity, whether it's prayer, whatever act it is, whether it's eating matzah, Pesach, whatever it is, can be mindful of it. So much so that that understanding in the mind actually filters into the heart and brings a sense of awe and love towards God. Then now, what does that love and awe bring you to? Because what we've learned previously, and we're going to learn more about it in a few chapters, love and awe in Judaism is not like Western society, where the notion is all you need is love. No, love is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. So here, the love of God that you have been able to meditate upon and bring yourself to is only a means to an end. And what is that? That your soul is thirsting and wants to cleave to the source of that love, to God. How are you going to cleave? Is by doing a mitzvah. So in other words, before you even come to the mitzvah, there's that meditative state, right? This higher level that we're talking about, kavanah, of intent, of mindfulness. There's that meditative state. How brief or how long it is not so much the point, but it's a meditative state that brings you to actually something in your heart, love and awe of God. That brings you to a thirst, a desire. It's like, most love songs are about a thirst and desire to cleave to someone. So in this sense here too, to want to cleave to the object of your love, your beloved. And then, how do you cleave? So this is the key. Western society, you cleave in fulfilling your desire. That's why we have over 50% divorce. Because it's about cleaving and fulfilling your feelings. Because your feelings are to you an end in themselves. Because that's what you want, is to fulfill your desire. So I see it with my grandchildren and children. Yeah, you want to hug them. Because you want to hug them. Because you want to, feel close. And so it's about, connecting to them. But that's not divine. That's not at all divine. That's human. That's natural. Right? That's not what we're talking about here. How are you going to cleave then? By doing something that God wants. What your beloved wants. Because you want to cleave to them, not to cleave to your feelings. And you're objectifying them to have your feelings fulfilled, your needs fulfilled, the hole in your soul filled. But what are you doing? You're doing a mitzvah. You're studying Torah like we're doing now. So the mindfulness would be, an example here, that you think about the greatness of what Torah is, that it's God's wisdom. It's one with Him. and that will, you meditate sufficiently on that idea that it'll bring you to some kind of feeling in your heart of love and awe, and then that will bring you to want to connect, to cleave. And how will you do that? By doing what God needs, what your beloved needs. And what's that? Study Torah. Well, in this instance, this is meditation, right? Or the mitzvah, of course. Which, of course, the mitzvah and the study of Torah is an extension of the Ein Sof, of the limitless and the oneness of God. And that's how we can cleave to Him, through the mitzvah, right? And this is also through prayer. Same idea, meditating upon the greatness of God, the relationship that you have with God, or the relationship that God has with the world as creator, all of that, right? This is all analogous to the soul of a human being. Why? Because the soul of a human being possesses intelligence, and we have the freedom of choice to speak with wisdom, to speak with, and to focus on with our wisdom, right? That wisdom should be able to develop and filter into the heart and affect our heart to have feelings that are based on our wisdom, our understanding. Animal can't do that. A human can do that. Right? Animal can't meditate upon the greatness of my master and let that bring feelings to my heart. Not at all. That's the first way. That's not easy, by the way. That's very hard. That kind of level of kavanah, of intent, of mindfulness. That's not, shall we say, natural. You've got to work on yourself tremendously to be able to have that, first of all, you have to have a lot of knowledge, or a sufficient amount of knowledge, so you can have what to think about or meditate upon about God. Right, that should bring you to some kind of feeling. I can't say that, this is what I do, so much. It's not easy, not simple. But there's a second level, and the second level might be more something that is akin to us, and that is for the individual. Their understanding is limited. And therefore don't have the time or the capability to reflect on the greatness of the Ein Sof, God. That reflection should be filtered and create in our hearts, from that understanding, a real love and awe for God in our heart, right? Because, well, we'll learn more about this idea of the concept of love and awe and the necessity of it, and when we speak about intent, of how that's important, and more about that to come in the following chapter. But so what are we left with? Well, if you recall in chapters 18 and 19, for those, remember that thanks to the matriarchs of our ancestors, we merit a Jewish soul that has a natural love hidden in the heart. In other words, it's there instinctually as a nature of who we are. So we can, with our minds, produce a love and awe, or all we can do, if we're not capable of that, is to reveal that which is already there in our soul, as it reflects in the heart, the hidden love. If you recall, that hidden love is something, that we spoke about in chapters 18 and 19 again, that will lead a Jew, as we see throughout the last 2,000 years, to martyrdom. A Jew will die for God even though they didn't live for God. And they don't die for God to keep their faith and not, take, accept another faith. They don't do that out of a logical reason. Well, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get a good in heaven. If I die now. No, that's not the reason. Other people that might be, in other faiths, that's what it is. But for the Jew, it's not that way at all. It's that they cannot be disconnected from their Creator. They cannot be disconnected from their faith. They cannot. They just can't do that. Why? Not for a logical reason, not because they understand and appreciate, but because that's the nature of the soul that is in us. It's hidden. And at that moment, it becomes totally revealed. Totally revealed. So that part in our soul, we can also use and reveal it in doing in having kavanah, and having intent. Something that's instinctual, that's a part of us, that can motivate us, the innate love and fear that there is, an awe of God. Now, what will that help us? To turn away from doing the wrong thing. Why? Why would you turn away from doing the wrong thing? Because you don't want to be disconnected. Fear means the fear of disconnect. You don't want to be disconnected from your source. You don't want to be disconnected from the divine. And also from love, which means I want to be connected. Like loved ones, we have the fear of being disconnected from them, and we have the desire to be connected. That's the love and fear. So here's the love that I want to be connected, and that will inspire me to do good. In other words, I'll observe the mitzvah, study Torah as we're doing now, with some form of mindfulness, awareness that through this I'm connecting to God. I'll say my prayers, recite blessings, and so on. So it won't be with a conscious love and fear, because conscious love and fear is something, you need to kind of create. But it is, as we said, the Ava Mitzvah is the hidden love that's there. That's there. Excuse me. That's there. But it kind of instinctually comes out. I'm allowing it to come out. I'm not fighting it. On the contrary, I want it to come out. And that's why it's analogous to the soul of an animal. Because the soul of an animal doesn't possess intelligence that can produce a feeling. It doesn't have that freedom of choice to do that, right? But it does have emotions, right? In other words, it fears something harmful and loves pleasurable things. That's an animal, right? Why? Because that's its nature. Not, not for any higher purpose, not for any meaning, right? It's not a result of their understanding and intelligence. That's why, this is pleasing to them. Learning Tanya is pleasing to us. We can understand that, right? So, by way of examples of that natural love and awe of God that's hidden, right? That again is not a product of our intelligence, and we don't have a choice in a sense. We don't have a choice in the sense that we're not creating it. We have a choice. We can push it back down, that hidden love, and not allow it to be revealed. But it is the nature. It's the instinct of the soul, right? It is our inheritance that's given to us from our patriarchs, and that can be the kavanah, the intent. And again, what is that intent? That it's just that through this, right now we're learning Tanya. So if we don't appreciate, and not to say we don't appreciate, I'm sure we appreciate the the greatness and the vastness of it, and so on, but probably don't appreciate it enough that it really produces a feeling in your heart of a desire to attach to God through the studying round. Probably is not doing that. Or if it does maybe, I don't think it really is usually happening. But the awareness that this is attaching me to the divine, it's attaching me to God. It's giving me a connection. That's instinctual to my soul. It wants that. So the fact that I, think that and aware of that is that instinctual love and awe. That is the kavana that is analogous again to the soul of an animal. So, again, we have two levels on how to perform the body of a mitzvah through the action or the speech, right, which is analogous to inanimate and inanimate object beings and vegetation. And then now, as we spoke today, the mitzvahs as they're performed with kavanah, with soul, they correspond to soul creatures, animals and humans. Kavanah that generated by one's intellectual contemplation of godliness, and kavanah that arises out of one's natural love and awe of God. Powerful idea. So, sometimes I think you might ask yourself, like, what draws you to learn? What draws you to do the mitzvah? What is it that's... So sometimes we have a clarity in our mind and we have a feeling in our heart. I'd say usually it's not such clarity in our minds that we've been thinking about, and that's brought a true feeling in our hearts of a desire to cleave to God and then express it through that learning or that mitzvah that you do. But it's a part of us. It's a part of our deeper reality. It's hidden. It's hidden. Why? Because we have a body that, and an animal soul that is our primary sort of first responder to anything in life. And therefore, it's, it's doesn't avail that love of the soul unless the animal soul is put aside. Allow my godly soul to kind of, in a sense, reveal itself, or to be active, and it will be active in the desire that I want to connect and not be disconnected. I want to connect and I don't want to be disconnected. So to do good, that through this, it's creating that connection to God. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Rabbi.
Thank you, Vilma. Thank you.
You're right. Creating that deeper connection takes effort.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, as we always at the end of the class, what we want to do, aside from, of course, a discussion and questions and answers, we also share. I know now that. This is a way to internalize the teachings and to be able to regurgitate it, to express it in your words and your understanding, so that way you can own it, because that's crucial. It's not sufficient to hear me give over the Alter Rebbe's teachings. I mean, that's great, and don't get me wrong, that itself has a value, but the ownership is very important. So David says, I know now that the Jew will lose his life to not disconnect from Hashem by not to take another faith, as we have a hidden love that gets revealed when we are put in a position to give up being a Jew, as this is not logical but instinctual to the soul. Very good. Excellent. Anybody else here? Anybody else in Clubhouse wants to share?
It's such a beautiful concept, but it is this super rational thing. Thank you, John. Would you like to?
Yes. So please forgive me if it's too technical, but the question is, if we look at Yud K Vav K,
Yes.
we look at the Tetragrammaton, and we look at its structure, as you pointed out, Rabbi, that the Yud K corresponds, we can say, to the perhaps object of focus for the godly soul, and the Vav K for the animal soul. Do I have that right so far?
Yeah, animal, soul, and body. Yeah, I mean, it will. Yes, in a sense.
Nefesh,
Yes.
Nefesh Elokit, Nefesh
Yes.
Hamid.
Yeah. In a sense. I mean, you're right. The Nefesh Elokit will still be embraced through the mechanical act of the mitzvah. I guess the novelty is that the embrace includes also the animal soul, as you said, and the body, right? Because it's doing the act. Yes.
So I took your point about the fact that the mechanical act, the act done without kavanah, of course, still serves God, because everything from the Ilayom position, everything serves God. Why wouldn't it? Why would God create anything that isn't part of the larger plan? So do I have that right so far? Did I make any mistakes?
Yeah, no, that's correct, Abi. But the only thing I do want to say that that's novel. You know, completely novel to say that just a mechanical act has its connection to the divine.
It's a mechanical act.
Yeah.
But there's no just about it.
Right.
Everything that exists to our consciousness and even to our unconsciousness is of God and thus worthy of awe and love.
Right.
So
but there is no awe and love over here. That the point in the mechanical act, there is no awe and love of God. There's just doing the action of giving charity, of putting on your tefillin, of lighting, Shabbat candles, of just doing something mechanical, and maybe your mind is, is somewhere on the beaches of, wherever, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, well, if we move to the question of if we move to separation versus and sweetening, in the sweetening phase, the seichel. Well, first let me ask you: can we say that the seichel becomes engaged in a conscious, let's say, monitoring or scrutiny or seeing of our mechanical acts, and starts dimly to see them as godly while we are doing them mechanically? So there's a kind of a simultaneous second consciousness that comes in. Does that sound right?
Well, absolutely. That is the point, that we should have that awareness and using our mind exactly in the act, right?
See even our automatisms as godly, but not from our actions. They're the stuff that we don't control, the animal movements, the animal, how we, counting as we lay tefillin or whatever.
Right.
All of that becomes elevated, and we see. We can't. I mean, how can a mechanical act be elevated? But shockingly, surprisingly, it is.
Right.
Once you have your head screwed on straight.
Right. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Very good, John. Appreciate that that thought. Very good. Let me just share it from Eugenia. I know now that the two driving forces to feel the love and awe of Hashem, the kavanah that comes from the work of the mind, and the kavanah that comes from our fear of disconnecting from Hashem, is a part of the makeup inherited from our ancestors. Excellent. The only thing I just add over here, it's not just about the fear of disconnect, it's also about the desire to connect, which is, you have to remember that anytime you have a fear to disconnect is because you have a desire to connect, right? The two go hand in hand. That's why love and fear come together. When you love your child so much, you have a fear of any harm that comes to them, right? And you can't disassociate one from the other. And when we do, then we're not balanced, and we're going to actually learn more about that, on how the two really come together. that's when it is a wholesome and real and an appropriate form of emotion, as opposed to one that would not be a healthy one. But again, that'll be more to come. All right, anybody?
So here's another question.
Sure, go ahead, John. Sure, go ahead.
So one of the questions that has been on my mind for as long as I can remember, and I think it's relevant here, is we are of course told "V'ahavta et Adonai Elokecha," and we are also told "V'ahavta et l'reach kamocha."
Right.
So the question is, how do you balance between the two, or how do you experience what the balance should be? And I think one should have a fear that the balance is not correct, in order that one can be open to let's call it a guiding of our animal behavior, so that we do the right thing. That's a question. I said it as a statement, but I'm curious to know what your reaction is.
So the balance between the love and awe of God and the love and awe of Ahavas Yisrael, of another. So they're, as the phrase goes, Haba Hatalia, they're one dependent on the other. And if there isn't, if you love God so much and you're hateful to another, then you don't love God, right? If you're hateful to is it possible the other way around? That's a good question. I have to think about that. But definitely, if you're not good to another and kind and loving and caring to another, then you are definitely not having a love of God. There's no question about that. Again, they are definitely bound up with each other. It's like when you really love somebody, you don't just love them, but you love what they love too, right? So if you really love God, so yeah, you're gonna love His Torah. You're gonna love His, His people.
His people.
His people. Yeah, exactly.
Right. The question on my mind is really, if once you recognize that your behaviors, the ones that are not mediated by your seichel, your animal behaviors,
right,
are also of God, then the fear becomes that the acts that you do out of love to another compromise your love of God, because you're a finite being. You can't love everything at all times in all ways, of course. And yet we are supposed to, in some way, love God in all times, in all ways. So there's always this fear that, or there should be this fear that you might be so to speak, over-loving in the material world, with the recognition that you are bringing into the conversation from Netanya, you are effectively saying, via the Alter Rebbe's concept, that the love that comes from the animal soul can also, from a distance perspective that comes from the seichel, be seen as serving the greater purpose as well. I don't know how well I said that, but I tried.
So, first of all, the love we're talking about over here is not from the animal soul, because the animal soul is about self-love. So we're not talking, the Alter Rebbe here did not speak about the love that comes from the animal soul. It comes from the godly soul,
okay,
that is hidden within us, and it's that love of the godly soul that's hidden within us, because we have a body and an animal soul that covers up over it, and it's there. We gotta bring it and express it and then bring it out, and we do that by consciously being aware of that and desiring to connect to God, and in other words, to do for my beloved, right? And what do you do for your beloved? What they need, what they want. God wants the mitzvah, so therefore that's why you're doing it. So it's not. It becomes more of a natural thing to do than rather a very developed intellectual thing that your mind meditates and understands and appreciates, and that feeds the heart, and the heart now has some kind of feelings towards God, and therefore you engage in what God needs from us as a result. So that's the higher human way. The instinctual way is not from the animal soul at all, because the animal soul is only concerned for itself. It's only concerned for its own self-preservation, and that self-preservation is its own comfort, its own desire to be fulfilled. So that is, not the discussion or the issue at hand over here, because that definitely will not provide for you to do the mitzvah. Maybe your animal soul will get you to do the mitzvah. You know why? Because I'm going to get punished if I don't. That's your animal soul talking. That's not about you wanting to connect to God. That's about you not wanting to get to be punished. That's about you, or maybe you want to get rewarded. If I do this, God's going to do this for me. I'll do this for God. God is going to do that for me. That's your animal soul talking. Here we're not talking at all about our animal soul. We're talking about the godly soul in two dimensions. One is the intellect that we are free to use to develop our heart, to have feelings in the heart towards God. And then one is that it's natural. We have it. It's a part of us. It's a Yerusha. It is an inheritance that we are merit to be bestowed upon us, and that is the godly soul. But it's hidden, that love, again, because it's covered over. We're revealing it in doing the act of the mitzvah. Does that clarify the issue?
It clarifies it to me. It's very complex, but so if I could kind of repeat the width of what you said.
Please do.
That I should be very careful not to imagine that that love of God comes from the animal soul, but rather look at the animal soul as the kind of patsuf, or can I use the word patsuf here?
Well, I would use it as a veil. It veils the godly soul from,
Okay. And that with that by the grace of God, so to speak, with time, the veil begins to lift, and we sort of see what was always there,
right?
Rather than so maybe we see the timelessness of.
Our soul senses the desire to connect. We sense the desire to connect to God. That's what it is.
But we can't be disconnected, of course, because God.
No, one second. No. 1 second. We're revealing it. You're never disconnected, because your soul is your soul. You can't get rid of your soul. So it's always there, but it's hidden. The desire for connection is hidden. Remember what, our natural instinct is that I want what I want for me, what's good for me, materially, spiritually, whatever it is. It's about me. It's not about my connection. The connection is only in order that I can get what I want, right? It's like the college student goes away to college, right? And Sunday he calls up Dad, how you doing? How's Sunday football? What's happening? No, son, how much money do you need? Are you making the call because you're making the call to your dad? Are you making the call because you need something from him? So it's not about the connection to him. It's about what he can give you. So that's the animal soul. The animal soul is about what God can give you. It's not about God. It's got nothing to do about God. It just happens to be that God is the only one who can give you, so therefore you're making the call, right? But here we're talking about the godly soul. The godly soul is making the call. You know why? It's my dad. I'm making the call because it's my dad, right? That's a natural instinct that we have in us of our divine soul. What we need to do, though, it's hidden. It's hidden. It's hidden with what? I make the call because I want something from you. That's hidden. I need to make the call because you're my dad. I need to pray to God because he's my father, period. And then I'm connecting to him, period. Right? That's what we're talking about over here. That is kavana.
Can you connect kavana with emunah?
Kavana means intent. Intent is an awareness of the emunah that we have. The emunah, the faith that we have, is that we are bound and connected with God, and he is the only reality. That's what my soul gets. My soul gets that idea, right? That we are, that God is the only true reality.
Right.
Okay, I just want to read some things here from some others, John. So I just so Eugenia is asking, is there anything people do for other people that is not driven by an animal soul? So Eugenia is asking, is there anything people do for other people that is not driven by an animal soul? Absolutely. You can't do an act of loving kindness for your fellow Jew for the reason that they're just your fellow Jew. Can you do something for another human being because they're created in the image of God and therefore you are doing it, as a service to others because they're created in the image of God? That's Eugenia. Does that make sense to you? Let me see over here. There's some others. So you have to, 1 second, everybody on Clubhouse. I need to look what's going on here on Facebook because we have quite a few people over here. Give me a moment. I'm looking for another question. I missed any questions over here. If I missed a question, because there's so many comments here on Facebook, it's hard for it to keep up with all of the questions. I'm seeing, I know now a bunch of things. I don't see another. Eugenia, you asked your question. I hope that was clear for you. And if anybody else has a question, let me know. I think that. Okay, I see Denise. Okay. Linda says, I know now that the hidden love and the desire to connect in godly soul is instinctually within us. The love in our animal soul comes from being developed. I'm not certain what you mean by being developed, Linda. Okay, Eugenia says, yes, beautiful. Okay. Wonderful. Linda, did I miss, or Denise, did I miss a question over here? Please let me know. With that, any other questions, anybody?
Rabbi, if I may say something.
Sure, go ahead.
This concept of divinely inspired love from our divine soul is very much based on unconditional love. It's not about needs. It's not about transactions. It's not about getting something that, we want. It's about, like you said, the connection and revealing that part of us that yearns to be connected, not just to God, but to our fellow Jews and to humanity at large.
Right. Yeah. Very good. All right. Denise, you have a question, I think. All right. Not clear. Okay. Gotcha. All right, folks. Amazing. We thank everybody on Clubhouse for joining and everybody on Facebook.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
We're here Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you, everybody. All right, folks. Stan. No. God forbid that I like Clubhouse better. Don't take that at all. However, we can have a discussion about the Clubhouse. Absolutely. Usually I don't get questions here. And we have to figure out how we can get the questions, um, because there's a lot of comments, and it's difficult always to be able to get through everything and see it. But I'll be more aware of what you're asking and saying. I will definitely do that. Um, and I don't like the idea that we should dump anybody and that I should not be aware of anything that's going on here. I need to make more of an effort to make sure that we can keep everybody engaged. There were a couple of times, you see, I have a lot of different things going on at the same time, and that I don't have all of my, what's it called, gadgets that I need. Um, no, we will make sure. I will make sure, make a much more of an effort. But on a Clubhouse, it seems like people are asking more than on Facebook, unless I'm missing something. But I'm trying to look, and I will look harder. All right, and let's try this. And let's see how it continues. Okay. Actually, if you can write for me the experience doing it with Clubhouse and having the people ask their questions. See, Clubhouse isn't visual, it's only verbal. You don't see anybody, you can just hear them. It's like many people on a conversation. And is there a way that we can make the best of both? Okay, so if you can comment on it, that would really... moderator from Tim is mentioning a good point. If we have a moderator on Facebook that can help, that is actually a very good idea. Yeah, so we can create. Okay. Question is. Okay. Let's continue this discussion. And please do post over here on how you feel about doing the two together. I appreciate that. Or if is it something that's not, it's not good for you. If you feel that it's distracting, then we need to figure out what to do and how to make this the best learning experience. Because ultimately, that is the goal over here, is to try to get this to as many people as possible, of course. And there are people, I must tell you, on Clubhouse that we're reaching now that we would never have be able to reach otherwise. They're like, it's a much more, it's a more, I don't know if the right word is, distant from traditional Jewish teachings, that the people who are there, and it's an opportunity to reach out. Right. So Tim, you're saying on Clubhouse. Okay. By the way, and we can have this conversation also later on Zoom. That will be actually helpful. Okay. As John says, thank you, John. This is a beautiful dilemma to have. How do we have more people engaged and to keep everybody engaged, to keep everybody happy, to keep everybody involved? Clubhouse, by the way, is only for an iPhone. Right now, they only have it working with an iPhone. And it is, if you go into your store, into your app store, you just put in Clubhouse, you got a guy with a cap there, and you download it, and you can, it's about going into different rooms, different conversations, and different things that people converse about, anything and everything. It's really about conversation, and that's why it's just geared more to conversation, where Facebook is sort of more one way, one way in the sense that I'm teaching and you're receiving, And even though you do make your comments and even do ask questions, it's not naturally as geared to that, so therefore it has that challenge. All right, folks, I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine. Wishing everybody a wonderful day, a wonderful Erev Shabbos, a wonderful Shabbos. I thank you all. It's such a pleasure and a privilege to share with you every day. It's amazing. Thank you.